morning, part 2 of our special report, Down to the Shadows. After the fall of Saigon, thousands of families were left without a home. They were scattered across the United States until word started to get out that there was one place very similar to the place that they used to call home.
Cali, xong tới Baton Rouge, xong tới đây 75, 77 á. So California, Oakland, California in 75, and then to Baton Rouge in 76.
Mới tới đâu biết rồi. Anyway, Vietnamese come, I don't know.
He just followed the flow, he said. That's why he just followed the flow, he didn't know.
Political issues in other countries across South Asia meant that those who fled would end up all over the United States.
Singapore government didn't want refugees. So they traveled from Singapore all the way to Guam, where there was a Red Cross camp set up over there. And for any refugee to make it into the United States, they had to have a sponsor, either by a family or an organization of some sort, to bring them over, to help them, feed them, and clothe them.
When we first got here, we were kind of sponsored by families in Monticello, Iowa. Weather is not like Vietnam. It's a little bit cold up there. And my father struggled with trying to find work.
The fishing industry and the climate would be the initial draw down to the Gulf Coast.
When you're exposed to something that you've never experienced before, you want to find things that you can identify with as being home. I think the climate, I don't know how you can get any more humid than New Orleans, but my parents say that it's more humid in Vietnam than it is in New Orleans, but very, very similar. The tropical climate, the rains, the humidity.
I don't know how he got word that, we all should go to New Orleans. But during that time, he said, well, we're going to go to New Orleans. The weather is very similar to Vietnam, and I could actually work as a fisherman.
One of the big draws of the Gulf Coast was the seafood industry, an industry that many of them were already familiar with, and a chance at work that they'd been doing all their lives.
That's what my dad did when he was in Vietnam. That's all he knows how to do, farming, crabbing. It's part of the Asian culture,
Blue crabs, right? That's a salsa crab. No, those are blue crabs. Yeah, it's not sure where they come from.
Back home in Vietnam, we do farming and also we do fishing. Yeah, we do a lot of fishing. Just back home is a wooden boat, and it's really small. On the boat, we don't feel comfortable, then we stay on the land.
And even the food had a similar feel.
Louisiana is a lot of seafood, similar to where we live in Vietnam. Just the season is just different.
It's texturally, it's everything is the same thing. It's just shaped differently.
And then the draw became something deeper than simply weather and economic opportunity. Wow. You can find that whole piece on KATC.com right now. It kind of ties all of these different parts together. And I think what I found the most interesting, because this started as a food package in my head. Mm-hmm. But then once I started talking, it was the industry that was here, the seafood infrastructure, and all of that stuff was already set up, which is what they would have done back home. And then not only, the food is similar, not only just, we all cook shrimp and fish and stuff like that, but when you take a look at the geography and on the article I posted online, I kind of show two side by side.
You can see the different deltas.
There's the Mekong River Delta, which runs through South Vietnam, which is real similar to the Mississippi River Delta. Yeah. So you end up with the same kind of creatures and animals and stuff available for you. And then through further reporting, I sat down with Peter and Tuan, his brother, and we were talking about food, and they brought up, you also have both former French colonies. So you have the French influence of cooking with these same ingredients, and you've had these two very, very similar style cuisines kind of growing up in opposite parts of the world. And so it all kind of made for this, the closest you can feel to Vietnam was down here in South Louisiana. And so word started to get out that this was a place that they could come and feel a little more at home.
It really is a beautiful piece of work too. I've seen the entire thing, and I mean, he's worked so hard. It was a real group effort there. So you want to stay tuned and catch part 3 tomorrow. And if you miss any of them, they are on KATC.com.